Welcome to the Purpose Driven Mom Show, episode 460. Today, we're going to talk about the myth of the perfect summer and what moms actually want. Spoiler alert, it's some time to sit down. Show notes are going to be at purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 460. Now, as this episode's airing, my kids are getting ready to start summer. Your kids might already be there. I think it's really important before all of it starts that you set some norms, expectations with your family and with yourself and with what we call the inner critic. Mine is named Julia. All those things that they say in our head. Because here's what often happens, right? You promise, you're like, all right, this summer's different. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to go on hikes. We're going to do crafts. We're going to read. We're going to do all the things. And then you get to like mid-June, you're totally burned out. And you're like, this is never going to happen because I'm exhausted. Does anyone see this? You're like, it's the beginning of summer. I can't wait. And then you're tired. And then the mom guilt, right, creeps in. Am I doing enough? Are my kids bored? I know should I just give them their tech again? Right? Because we were like, oh, we're having a tech-free summer, like all those kind of things, right? Should I have picked more camps? This happens to me. I'm like, oh, should I have given them more to do, right? Here's the thing though, you can't do summer wrong. You just have to show up. So I really want to bust this myth of like this perfect idealistic as seen on TV summer and talk about what is going to actually get you what I think it is you want, which is being fulfilled, calm, and connected with your kids. Now, everybody's summer is going to look a little bit different based on your schedule. So I want you to take everything I'm talking about today, adjust it, apply it, and think about how it can best benefit you. All right. Because here's the thing, this myth of what it looks like. I always feel fine until I see it on social. And I know this, right? I'm an intelligent person. I know that social media warps my brain. And this is what I was trying to explain to my kids because I'm trying to decrease my social media use. And I was talking to some of my Girl Scouts about it, and we were talking about TikTok. And I just said, you really don't need to be on social media. I was like, I don't even need to be on TikTok. Your brains, I was like, are developing. So it's harder for you. But even as a person with a fully developed brain as an adult, it's not good for me because I always tell my husband, like, if I never went on social media, I would be a happier mom. I would be happier with myself and I'd be a happier person. We all know this, and it's so hard to do it. Why? Because social media, it's highlight reels. It's the magazine cover. It's the perfect bucket list trip. And financially, it's been a hard one for us this year. Maybe you're in the same boat where we can't financially swing. We're choosing not to prioritize some of the trips we normally go on. So it's very easy to get caught into, I wish I could do more because we see it on social media. And then, it comes into our brains. Well, a good mom would, right? Make every moment count and do this craft and have this time and never let their kids watch TV or whatever it is you hear, right? Like you see the other moms, they're doing these elaborate crafts, they're the epic big vacations, okay? They're planning learning activities over the summer, and you're wondering, am I dropping the ball, right? There was a study done in 2023, okay, from motherly.com, and it found that 72% of moms actually feel that summer can bring more stress and relaxation, especially those of us who are also trying to manage home and work life, okay? And I want to encourage you today that summer doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to work for you and your family. So whatever you're choosing to do it for you guys. Do it for what you and your kids want to do this summer. If you find yourself getting caught into comparing, get off social media. This is actually one of my goals for myself this summer. I am very tempted to delete some apps. But part of it is very challenging because my job does have a social media requirement. So I have to create boundaries for myself. But I am incredibly tempted to be like, let me just take this app right off my phone, right? Because I'm fine until I see someone doing something else. And then my brain wants to make it feel like what I'm doing isn't enough, right? So I want you to think about what you actually want and need. I'm going to give you some things that I'm going to recommend, and I want you to think about your family and your life. And again, it's going to be different. Now, I've shared before the way that we do summer here is that my kids go to camp for 5 weeks and then they're home for 5 weeks, not in a row. We kind of a la carte it so that we can have a little bit of a break. During the times they're home, we might go on vacation or travel, we might go camping. We might just be home, right? And I'm still having to work. And then on the times where they're at camp, that's when I'm working the full 9 to 3. I'm going to batch record a ton of podcasts. If you watch episodes back to back on our YouTube channel, if you see me in the same clothes, because I don't even bother faking it, I'm not changing my clothes, right? I just recorded an episode. I'm going to do another one. If I have time, I'm going to do a third one, right? So my summer looks different every single day. So I want you to ask yourself, what is my summer going to look like? What do I want it to look like? And I want you to, no, wants bossy. I'm going to highly encourage that you add a couple things in that I really think you're going to look back and be like, oh, I wish right? Like, I wish I'd given myself more of this. And as my kids get older, I feel the same way. I'm like, oh, I wish we had done less of this stuff and more of this. The first thing is going to be space to breathe. Now, I started this episode, which again, show notes, a purposedrivenmom.com/podcast 460. But I started this episode talking about it, how we try to do 100 things in June. May, right? June, and then my kids don't end till mid-June. But by like the first 2 weeks of break is over, you're tired. You're like, I'm not this, everything's expensive. We hit up all these carnivals. We've been doing stuff every day. We've gone to the library. Like, what are we gonna do now, right? I want you to give yourself space to breathe. And I want you to give your kids space to breathe. The one thing that I love the most about summer is that we have less responsibilities for their school schedule, obviously, because they're not at school. Even with camps, because it's like the typical school day, it just feels different, right? But the other thing I love is that we don't do activities in the summer. If we do activities, they're kind of a la carte. We're not on a consistent schedule, right? My daughter will do some tumbling, things like that. We might do pop-ups. There's like a pop-up basketball by us that we might do every once in a while, but we don't have those commitments. So we actually have space to breathe. But I struggle as a person with space to breathe, and I have to push myself to say, like, I don't have to fill every hour. I don't have to fill every minute. I don't have to fill every night. We, meaning my family, but maybe yours as well, we're very used to moving at a very fast pace. Because I have three kids, we're very used to having an activity almost every single night because they're in multiple activities. And of course, my kids aren't in a ton of stuff. I think there's this myth I hear from people, they're like, you're so busy. Well, it's math. I have three kids who all do things, but they don't do a lot of things. But my kids have just chosen to do intense things, right? So my daughter does competitive cheer. It's 3 times a week. My son is currently doing baseball. It's 3 times a week, right? At some point, those are going to overlap. If not, that's still 6 days a week, right? And so I think that, I hear that from people like, you guys are just always doing so much. You're so busy. Yes, but it's not that I'm like, you're doing 4 activities at once. That doesn't work for our family. They're doing one. They do scouts and they do their activity. And since baseball started, my son has actually decided to opt out of scouts because he'd rather go to baseball and there was an overlap. So my son is only doing baseball, right? My oldest, he actually stopped playing basketball, so he works and things like that. And then my daughter does cheer and Girl Scouts, and that is it. Right now, field hockey is overlapping for like a week, and that is it. We don't do a lot, but it's full. And because my kids are very used to that, we feel uncomfortable in the space. And because we feel uncomfortable in white space, I think it's really important to pause and remind yourself that you don't have to fill every hour. And at first, it's going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to have that discomfort in your stomach of like, are we bored? Am I bored? Are they bored? What do I do? Right? And we often, meaning me, I give myself space to relax, but I don't know how to relax well because I'm like panicking in my head sometimes. Oh, I only have today to relax. So I've got to, whatever. Whereas if you're giving yourself more space more consistently, you're going to start to feel your shoulders sink down. You're going to allow yourself to have that. So just like a reminder, instead of let me feel this perfect summer where we're doing 800 things a day, maybe you have one time block a day where you do nothing. That's one of the things we do because I have to work. So on my like work time blocks, when I'm working, so I typically in the summer, if my kids are home, I work one time block a day. Okay, so that's either 9 to 12 or 12 to 3. And it's just based on my calls. So I'll work about 2 to 3 hours a day. And then I'll take Thursdays completely off. Okay, that's what my summer looks like. On Mondays, I have calls from 9 to 12. On Tuesdays, I only have one call. Wednesday, I only have one hour call. And Thursday, I have one hour call. But I'll also kind of block time around that call to do computer work. Okay, so I work about 2 to 3 hours a day. During that time, they have activities they're allowed to do. We make a structured schedule. But I also like to just give us one block a day with nothing so that I can relax, they can relax. And I said this in the last episode, but I love when my kids are bored, right? It's good to stop and be still. And for us who are not used to that, I know it can feel uncomfortable, but it's good, okay? Embrace slower mornings, right? Lazy afternoons. I don't love the word lazy. Let's think of those. Just like mild afternoons, right? Do nothing spaces. I am so excited to sit outside this summer and read my book. We have a pool. I cannot wait. I just want to sit there. I want to read my book and not worry about my to-do list. The dishes are going to pile up. The laundry's going to be there. I cannot wait to slow down. This is key, and I want to make sure you're adding it intentionally in. For the summer, I make sure I add one time block every single day, unplanned. Okay. And I think this is important to remember. Even if you're planning fun things for your kids and your family, it's still something that they're doing. So we might have a beach day that takes a lot out of you, right? And then you get like you want time home where you're just chilling. It doesn't have to be all day. I like to get out of the house too, but if we're going to go to the park in the morning, the afternoon, I'm going to give us a couple hours to just exist. Let your kids' brains work. Let your brain relax. Let them be bored. Do all these things. Give yourself space to breathe. The other thing that I would really recommend when you're crafting your summer is connection, right? Connection over this perfection. Okay. The kids are going to remember the fun, the water balloon fights, movie nights on the couch. Oh my gosh, my kids went, Mom let us stay up and build, sleep over in the living room. Like those kind of things. Oh, we had pizza night. You ever laugh at that now where you're like, when you're a kid, you think, oh my God, my mom was so cool. We had pizza night on Fridays, but it was really because she was tired, right? Like the kids are going to remember the connection. So I want you to ask yourself now, before we really head into the summer, what are the memories that you want to build, right? Not what is the schedule that I want to follow. Okay. Last week I mentioned having a bucket list and we'll make one for the summer, but the goal for our bucket list isn't to complete it. The goal for the bucket list is to give us ideas. So you can even call it like things we might want to try this summer and not we have to complete it all because that takes the fun out of it. That feels like it's about checking it off a list rather than time. I like to spend a lot of time with my kids in the summer, just one-on-one, because it's harder for me to get that during the year because somebody else is always around. So I try to do 15 minutes a day. We do more some days, but some days, honestly, 15 minutes is enough of just time with my kids. And so one of the routines that we have now that the weather gets warm is that I'll try to go for like a walk at night, just like around the block. And I take my kids one on one. And I love this. I know they love it. It's so special. Takes me 20 minutes to walk around my block. So I will take one kid, we'll walk around once, I'll drop them off, with my husband, and I'll take the other kid. And we talk about whatever they want to talk about, and we connect and hold hands. And I say, thank you for spending time with me. Those are the memories I want my kids to have, right? Yes, the trips are fun, right? But not everything has to cost $1 million. Everything doesn't have to be urgent all the time. Think about those slowed down times when you can just do things with them. Now, the other thing I think you might want to make sure you're adding in, because again, we call this episode like the myth of the perfect summer and what moms really want. I want you to think of the things that you want, right? The other thing that I think is really helpful is having flexibility and some flow. I like to use the word rhythm because like routines, are my jam. Systems are my jam. But strict schedules can backfire, in particular in the summer when things just move at a different pace. Have some rhythms, have some non-negotiables. Ask yourself the question, like, what does the morning look like? If there are things you need your kids to do, right? Like you want your kids to have their rooms picked up at the end of the day, you can add those in, but maybe it doesn't have to be so structured, okay? Instead of daily micromanagement, what if you had weekly rhythms, okay? This can be not only for the stuff around the house, but this could be the flow you make if your kids are home. Mondays is when we go to the library, Tuesdays is when we go to the park, things like that. That way you have some structure, but you don't feel like you have to follow it. I think that's the key. We have a phrase, stop shoulding on yourself here at the Purpose Driven Mom Club. If you find yourself saying, I should be doing this, I want you to ask yourself why. Why am I thinking I should be doing something and where is that from? And then build in margin for weather, for sick days, for meltdowns, right? If our kids are so structured all the time, they get overstimulated just like mom does, and they could use a little bit of a break. So again, make sure you're building in that margin and not worrying as much about, I want to make sure we do everything that's happening. Because listen, there's a ton of cool things. We have a ton of cool things in my town that I would love to do. We're just not going to get to it all, and that's okay. As you're building your summer, I'm going to give you kind of the last thing I think I'm going to say pretty positively that I know you need this, and that's time for yourself, right? You are not a bad mom for needing some alone time. So create that mini ritual. Give yourself 10 minutes of journaling, like solo coffee on the porch, reading during quiet time. Particularly, like I mentioned, on those weeks where my kids are home all the time, it's okay if I say this is quiet time for everyone. Everyone gets to do one thing they want to do by themselves, and mommy needs to do that as well. Having that time for yourself is going to help you recharge. Now, the other thing that I think is going to be something you have to be mindful of is if you're like me and you're working. So I would love to take the whole summer off and spend that with my kids. It's not my reality. So instead of mourning what I would like and having this grieving process of like, oh, I wish I didn't have to work, I ask myself the question, like, how can I show up for work in a way that is aligned? So like I mentioned, I take Thursdays, I'm not going to work, no computer work. That's our day off, right? Whether they're at camp or not. Even on the weeks they're at camp, I'm taking Thursdays off, and that's when I'm going to go have coffee with friends, go run my errands, do things I want to do around the house. So I give myself boundaries. Now, there are times where I'm feeling inspired or I want to work on something, so I'll head into the office at night, but I plan to build it around calls. So if you have a job that has calls like mine does, where you have to be in meetings, build your day around that. And then also asking yourself, like, do I have to work the same amount of hours? Now you might, or you could be creative about it. Now, one of the things I did before summer starts, and I'm working on currently as I'm batch recording this episode, is I batch. I'm batching all of my podcast episodes this week so that May and June are going to be done. This way, next week I can work on July's. And then in June, when my kids are at camp for those 2 weeks, I'm going to get all of August done. Then I don't have to worry about doing those types of things, those things that I prefer to do when my kids are not around, the podcast episodes. Honestly, recording video is really the only thing that I love quiet time for. Coaching calls, obviously. Otherwise, every other thing that I have to do for my job, I can do with my kids around. Would I rather not have interruptions? Yeah. Like it would be great if I could just do it in quiet, but I can do it at the pool with them. I can do it sitting outside. I can do it at the kitchen table. I can do it in the office and have them mom, mom, mom every 5 seconds. But recording the podcast, any content I have to record in my coaching calls, I really would love to do while they're not here. So because I know these things, I make a schedule around it. Now, I want you to know that you're probably going to feel guilty at some point this summer, so recognize your signs. Guilt over the screen time that they might be having. Are you comparing yourself? Are you feeling resentful towards your to-do list? Okay. Remind yourself, guilt isn't always the truth. So replace it with the truth. Okay. My kids are loved. We're doing enough. Joy doesn't have to look a certain way. We're having fun the way that makes sense for our family, right? And remind yourself the other truth. That person on TikTok who shared that beautiful summer routine they have edited that video. Even like I'm very real. If you meet me in real life, we had an in-person event last September. We will do it again soon. I know it's just not going to happen this year, but we had an in-person event last September. I got to meet club members. What you hear on the podcast, what you see on social media, it's me. It's me in real life. It's me with my friends. It's me with my family. It's real. Okay. I don't curate a lot. I'm not lying about stuff. But I still edit my video, right? Like I still do my video, cut out the part that looks the best, and I put it up there, right? It's not a lie, but it's edited. So just remind yourself that while I might have put up an Instagram reel of my kids hiking in the park, or in the woods, there's probably 5 or 7 other times during that hike that I was like, get off that, don't do that. Like we have to remember that. Just that reminder. Like you don't need a summer that quote looks good. You need a summer that feels good. That's the whole point, right? So I want you to come up with a simple summer strategy of what a quote unquote ideal summer. I was about to say perfect, but we're going to say ideal summer looks for you. Ask yourself again, what do I want summer to feel like for me, for my kids? Okay. Do I want it peaceful or playful or present or connected? Do I want it to be adventurous? Do I want to go out? Ask yourself. And then create some like loose weekly anchors to help with a rhythm, right? You might say, okay, things that we're going to have every single day at some point. Family fun, time outside, time alone, time to be creative, whatever it is together. Come up with those anchors so that during the day you can do some pulse checks with you and the fam and say, hey, are we making sure we're doing these things? And simplify your bucket list, okay? Let it evolve, use some sticky notes, cross some things off. You do not need to earn a gold star this summer, okay? Your worth isn't based on how many popsicles you hand out or, like if you get to your garden every day or make bread from scratch, which is a side note, I've mastered my bread. It's great. But my worth isn't in my bread, right? It's just something fun that I do, okay? I want you to focus this summer on how you want it to feel with your kids and your family, not how it looks. And my call to action for you this week is to have a family meeting and talk to your kids about that. Ask them, what do you want to do this summer? What do you want it to feel like? How busy do you want to be? And ask yourself as well. Show notes are at apurposedrivenmom.com/podcast 460. Come DM me over on Instagram at apurposedrivenmom. Let me know, what do you want your summer to feel like? Toss me any questions. And thank you for hanging out today.